Hey, what is up guys? My name is Oleg, this is Bond. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel and like the content, please subscribe. So in today's video, I'm going to do a full review of Advisor AstroHelm. Advisor is a micro brand based in Singapore. We were talking back and forth and they offered to send me one of their watches in for review. Now, instead of getting that watch in, reviewing it and sending it back, like it usually happens, I decided that I wanted to purchase one for my collection. Now, of course, I did an unboxing video of that watch about a month ago, and now it's time for a full review. Do I still like it? Do I regret buying it? Well, let's get into the review. So here's the watch, Advisor AstroHelm. Let's start the review by looking at the dimensions. We have a case diameter of 44 millimeters, 52 millimeters from one lug to another, 24 millimeter lug width, and the thickness of almost 17 millimeters. It's a pretty chunky watch. It has a lot of wrist presence. 44 millimeters, even by today's standards, is pretty big for a watch. 17 millimeters thickness, it's a lot, but a lot of it does come from this domed sapphire crystal. So on the wrist, it almost disappears. Nevertheless, it is still a pretty chunky watch. If you have a wrist of under 6.5 inches, I think the watch would be a little bit too big for you. But again, you know, it all depends on your personal preference and style. Mine is 7.25 inches, and of course, I'll do a wrist shot in a few minutes or so. It does look pretty good, but I do wish it was a bit smaller, maybe 42 millimeters. With that size, I think Advisor would do fantastic numbers. Now, I understand why they went with 44 millimeters, because this watch in part pays an homage to a lot of Panerai models, more specifically Panerai PAM 424, that watch being 47 millimeters. So this is of course 3 millimeters smaller than that, and in kind of all dimensions it is smaller. So it's a shrunken version of that watch, but it does pay a proper homage without actually copying the design, without copying every element of the design. I mean, the crown is different, the dial is a little bit different, the lugs are totally different, the case shape is a bit different. So this watch has its own identity, but still paying homage to a lot of watches that came before it. Now, one of the biggest things that stands out right away when you look at this watch, it's that California dial. So what exactly is a California dial? Well, basically California dial is a dial that has both Roman numerals and Arabic numerals on it. That's it. So here we have at the top Roman numerals and at the bottom Arabic numerals. The first watch to feature California dial was a Rolex Bubbleback. That was in 1934. In 1936, Italian Navy asked Panerai to make some watches for them. Those were the Panerai 3646 watches, very collectible, very rare. Of course, back then the Panerai were made by Rolex. Those watches are, as I mentioned, very collectible, very expensive, and not a lot of them actually survived. If you see one out in a wild, chances are it's probably fake or a Franken watch, so just be very, very careful if you're buying a vintage Panerai, but I digress. So anyways, that's where these California dials have started. Now, why are they called California dials? Well, there's many different stories and tales why they are called this. There is no definitive answer. However, I do have a friend who collects a lot of Rolex watches. Maybe he'll let me borrow some of his watches for reviews in the upcoming videos. And he tells me a story of a dealer in California in 1980s who has been selling a lot of Rolex Bubblebacks with this sort of dial, with the split dial, Roman numerals and Arabic numerals. And he was requesting a lot of other dealers from all over United States and Canada and other countries to mail him watches with this sort of dial, because he had a lot of clients for it, and because he was based in California, this type of dial was becoming known as California dial. I don't know if that story is true or not, but I think it's still a cool story. So while we're on the subject of the dial, you can see that there is some faux patina on it. The dial almost looks like it's an aged wood dial, but of course it's not. It's just painted on and made it look like it is aged. We also have some aged radium lume. Again, it's not really aged, it's faux aged radium lume. It still does look really nice. The loom actually works. Let me pop a loom shot on the screen right now. It's pretty good, and it holds for about 2 to 3 hours. I do have one complaint about this dial, and it's the fact that it is a little bit too light. If I were to design this watch, I would make the dial a little bit darker. In certain lights, it does look dark, but if you look at it in direct sunlight or at indirect light, the dial is a little bit too light, and with this faux aged loom, it is hard to tell time at certain angles. So I do wish they made the dial a little bit darker. That way there would be a little bit more contrast. We have Advisor written by 12 o'clock position, Automatic written in red by 6 o'clock position. Another complaint of mine, I wish the red was more prominent. I don't know how to do it. Maybe use a brighter color, maybe write it in white, maybe again have the dial a little bit darker so there's more contrast. I do like that it is written in red. Maybe in white it wouldn't look as nice, but just have it stand out more because it looks really cool, but you almost can't see it. The watch has an all stainless steel case. It's all polished, so there are no brushed finishes on it. It does have a screw down case back with the display window, giving it a water resistance of 100 meters, which is not bad for this type of watch. There is a crown at 3 o'clock position. It is an unsigned crown, and usually I would complain about the fact that the crown is not signed. However, in this case, I think it fits the overall look of the watch, overall design. So I actually don't mind the crown being not signed, and I actually prefer it being not signed. We also have these screws on the lugs, and these screws are actually what you unscrew to take off this leather strap. So they are functional, and they're what's holding the pins in for the leather strap. Speaking of the strap is actually of a pretty good quality. It feels like a good quality leather strap with this white stitching. Again, gives you a little bit of those retro vibes. Really well done. Advisor logo stamped at the bottom. The tank buckle, again, very big, very oversized, over the top, looks cool. Advisor logo on the tank buckle. So yeah, no complaints about the leather strap. As you can see, I kind of worn it in a little bit because I do have this watch for about a month now, so I've been wearing it very often. We also have this double domed sapphire crystal. I did test it, and it is a sapphire crystal. I put it under the water droplet test. I don't have the actual diamond tester. Maybe I should get one. I think they're like 40 or 30 bucks on eBay. Maybe I'll invest in one at some point. But anyways, I did a water droplet test, and it does seem like it is real sapphire and double domed at that. From my understanding, doing a double domed sapphire is a lot more expensive than doing just a flat one, because you need a bigger piece and a thicker piece of sapphire to curve out this double dome. So really well done, and again, gives you very good vintage watch vibes. There is no anti-reflective coating on this piece of sapphire, so you can see the camera is being reflected right back. You can see the window. So this watch is very difficult to photograph. It is very difficult to film. I can't really show you how beautiful the dial is because there is no anti-reflective coating, so everything is just being reflected. And I think because the crystal is also double domed, that makes the watch even more reflective. Usually I would complain about the fact that there is no AR coating on the watch because at certain angles it would be difficult to tell what time it is, but because they are paying homage to these vintage watches, and vintage watches don't have any AR coating on their crystals, I think it's perfectly acceptable, and actually I do support their choice of not including it. However, just know that there is a bit of a trade-off in terms of visibility. At certain angles, at certain lighting conditions, it would be pretty difficult to tell what time it is, and also that automatic kind of loses itself in this dial. We have Seiko NH35 movement powering the watch. It's a common movement in a lot of these micro brand watches because it is reliable, it's easy to service, and it is affordable for them to put into these watches. So the movement is hacking and hand winding. Here's the shot of the movement and the case back. Fairly simple stuff. Again, I like the inclusion of this display case back. This movement is not particularly beautiful to look at, but it is an extra step that they have taken, which I do appreciate. Now, something you will notice here that it says 24 out of 100. So these watches are of limited quantity. They're only making 100 of these in stainless steel case, and they're only making 100 in rose gold case. So there is a rose gold case version of this available. There also are quartz versions in stainless steel and rose gold available as well. The quartz version is actually pretty good. It is more affordable than this. So this watch is $250. I do have a promo code, 24 hours time. When you check out, you save 15% or about 40 bucks. So the watch becomes $213, $215, something like that. Not a bad deal. So overall, I do like the watch. I do like a lot of the design choices that they have taken with this watch, and that's why I decided to buy it instead of just having it in for review and sending it back. I know that's not a way to run a YouTube channel. I'll go bankrupt very quickly if I keep on buying watches like this, but hey, sometimes you can't resist yourself. There are some negatives that I have with the watch, so some of them I already mentioned. Again, they're kind of negatives, but not really. The fact that the crown is not signed, again, to me personally, that's not a negative. Maybe to some of you that would be a negative. The fact that there is no anti-reflective coating on this double domed sapphire crystal, so you will get a lot of reflection, and in certain lights it's hard to tell exactly what time it is. The fact that the dial is a little bit too light in color, again, that's just my personal preference. On the pictures on Advisor website, the dial does look a little bit darker, so when I unboxed it, I was expecting the dial to be darker. It is a bit too light for my liking. Not a huge deal, just kind of nitpicking here, but by far the biggest negative is of course the size of the case. 44 millimeters is not gonna fit everyone's wrist. And here's what the watch looks like on my 7¼ inch wrist. As you can see, it is a big watch with a lot of wrist presence, but I love how the double domed sapphire crystal looks. It's very comfortable to wear. The weight is just right, where it's feeling like a quality item on your wrist without feeling too heavy. Okay guys, so that was the review of Advisor AstroHelm. As you can see, I still like the watch, and of course I don't regret buying it. There are some shortcomings, the biggest thing being the size. I wish the watch came in 42 or 40 millimeter options. I think if they did that, the watch would be a lot more popular. However, I do like the fact that they are limited quantity. Now, if you're interested in picking one up, they're $250. I'll have a link in the description below. Advisor did offer us a promo code. The promo code is 24 hours time. Again, that will be in the description below. If you use the promo code, you get 15% off, so about 40 bucks off, 37, I believe, something like that. So the watch becomes $215. At that price, it makes it pretty attractive, but you'll be the judge for yourself. Do you need one of these watches in your collection, or maybe save up for something else? You watched the review, so you should have your mind made up. I appreciate you watching until the end. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this watch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.